Hi there everyone, Lars here from Camille's Harem with another installment of our Defending Tolkien miniseries. In an attempt to bring more positivity to the internet and head off whatever Amazon's going to crap out with their upcoming Rings of Power series, I am looking at the great contributions Tolkien has brought to the fantasy genre. And today I am going to look at why the Fellowship could not fly eagles to Mount Doom to destroy the ring. The meme is real. Why don't they just take the eagles? They solve all our problems. It's been a running gag from Studio C all the way to how it should have ended. Even MatPat whipped up a massive theory to claim that Gandalf wanted the Fellowship to fly the ring to Mount Doom with the eagles' help. And honestly, I, as a fan of Tolkien, really enjoy these memes. They're funny, they start a great conversation, and yeah, they're fantastic. However, there are firm details, concrete world building in the books that when brought together help explain why the Fellowship would have been very unwise to fly into Mordor. And by looking at these particular descriptions and details, we can see how Tolkien was a master at both world building and crafting a very meaningful narrative, something that we can learn a lot from. So, in case you, by chance, don't know the story, hey, welcome to Lord of the Rings. So, as the story goes, Frodo Baggins, the Hobbit, inherits a ring from his uncle Bilbo that his uncle had got on his travels. The ring, by fate's design, happens to be the greatest weapon of the Dark Lord Sauron, a Maiar, or more simply put, one of Tolkien's fantasy angels. This ring contains all of Sauron's primordial powers, and if wielded correctly, it will allow the holder to control all of the other magical rings on Middle-earth, and allow the wielder of the One Ring to take over the entire world. But destroying the ring would defeat Sauron and annihilate everything that he created with it. Destroying the One Ring, therefore, will end the war with Sauron. The war that he has been waging against Middle-earth for about 6,000 years at this point. Frodo flees from his comfy home in the Shire and leaves with his gardener Samwise and his friends Merry and Pippin to get the ring to the elven stronghold Rivendell. Once there, the Lord of Rivendell, Elrond, summons a great council of the wise to discuss what must be done with the ring. Tolkien wrote a lengthy chapter going into incredible detail, connecting much of Middle-earth's history and explaining the dangers that the ring poses. They cannot flee Middle-earth with the ring, nor can they hide it, not even in the ocean, because Sauron will eventually find it. Not even Tom Bombadil, the guy who can resist the magic of the ring, not even he can prevent Sauron from regaining it. So long as the ring exists, even if the wise should wield it, Sauron's evil will remain, and it will eventually take hold and consume the entire world. Their only hope, therefore, is to destroy the One Ring. This leads the council to determine that the ring will go to Mount Doom, and Frodo volunteers to carry it, while Elrond and Gandalf decide that secrecy is the best means by which Frodo can take the ring to Mordor. Now, why? Well, after the ring wraiths were unhorsed and defeated trying to cross into Rivendell, this means that they are not yet on their flying drakes as we see them later on having, and Sauron's influence in the north is now weakened. And if you're thinking this through, you might say, hey, wait a second, isn't this actually then the perfect time to use the eagles to get to Mordor? The ring wraiths can't go anywhere. The way is clear, there's no one besieging Rivendell, just fly the ring straight to Mordor. Well, that just doesn't work. Mordor is surrounded by more than just mountains, it is surrounded by magical barriers and plenty of scouts. Even if the eagles did make it through, they would be spotted and attacked by unspeakable horrors within Mordor itself. There's even a chance that Sauron himself would get involved and attack. In the books, we read that Sauron intervenes personally on at least 2 occasions, one of which when he tries to capture Frodo as he's using the ring on Amon Hen, and at the end of the Return of the King when he tries to literally come out of Barad-dûr and attack and kill Aragorn in a last-ditch effort to defeat the Alliance. Despite not having a physical body, Sauron's spirit is pretty strong. Strong enough to fight if the moment calls for it. He's not just some big flaming eye. He can still take on many forms if the need arises. And if the eagles were to fly with the ring into Mordor, he could challenge the eagles himself because the need would arise and he has that power. However, coming back to it, with the situation around Rivendell, his presence is weakened in the north. Therefore, he is not as able to see or control events surrounding Rivendell, which means that's actually now a perfect opportunity for Gandalf and Elrond to send the Fellowship out secretly and hide. And if they can make it through Moria, they will most have definitely lost Sauron's gaze, and then can sneak into Lothlorien, and from there through Emyn Muil and into Mordor. So that's the reason for going in secrecy, that Sauron would be able to see the eagles coming, he would be able to attack them personally, and who knows what else is within Mordor that would have allowed him to prevent the eagles from flying in. But let's just say right here that the eagles would continue their winning streak, because let's face it, the eagles solve all problems. These guys defeat the enemy every single time they go into battle. So why not just rely on the Eagles' incredible winning streak? Well, there is another very, very important note to make here, that the ring cannot be destroyed by merely dropping it into Mount Doom. It seems like that from the movies, but as we read in the book Return of the King, the ring must pass through the forges of Sammath Naur, Sauron's personal forge, the true place where the ring was forged, and the only place where it can be destroyed. And what we witness in the book is that when the hobbits pass through Sammath Naur, even the light of Eärendil, the light of a holy Silmaril, one of the most powerful forms of magic in all of Middle-earth, is all but quenched in the presence of Sauron's power. Tolkien specifically writes that all other powers bow to Sauron's in this place. Anyone, no matter how strong their will is, will be broken by Sauron's might in Sammath Naur. The ring will overcome anyone and dominate them in order to preserve itself from destruction. Hence then why it was essential that Gollum be spared so that way he could fight Frodo for the ring, trip and accidentally fall into the fires and destroy the ring forever. It could only have been done by accident, not on purpose. So, there you have it. Sauron is too powerful to just fly the ring on in. He would have seen the eagles coming, he would have attacked them personally, he would have destroyed them, or if somehow they had managed to make it through and have gotten to Mount Doom, you have to pass through Sammath Naur in order to get to the fires to destroy the ring. But the moment you pass through Sammath Naur, the ring dominates you, no matter how good-hearted or how powerful you are. So, that's all of Tolkien's world-building explanations for why you can't just fly the eagles on into Mordor. However, there's also a narrative explanation for not taking the eagles. Tolkien was telling an epic, a story of good versus evil, and a crucial part to that story is the element of redemption. Good must redeem the world from evil, thereby solidifying good's eventual triumph, and we get that arc of redemption for every character in the Fellowship. This is why it's something that's so very important for us to notice as we read through the story. So let's have a look at the members of the Fellowship and see where this theme plays out within their own character arcs. And we'll start off first with Boromir. Boromir falls victim to the influence of the ring, but he redeems himself by confessing to Aragorn what he has done, standing up to the Uruk-hai, and sacrificing himself to try and rescue Merry and Pippin. The movies in particular highlight this by showing a great contrast between Boromir and Isildur, where the High King of Gondor fell running with 3 arrows in the back. Boromir perishes triumphantly with shots to the front, and he has retained his honor. We then look at Aragorn. Aragorn is the wandering descendant of kings, the one upon whose shoulder rests the legacy of Gondor, Arnor, Numenor, and all his forebears stretching back to Beren and Luthien. While Aragorn in the books is much more accepting of his kingly role, he must journey to redeem Rohan, Gondor, and do what Isildur never could, refuse the ring. His is a story of sacrifice and redeeming the world of men through his constant valor. We then have Gandalf, and this is a really interesting one right here. Gandalf is redeemed of his fear. He feared coming to Middle-earth along with the rest of the Astari, or wizards, to confront Sauron. Gandalf was scared of Sauron's abilities and powers, but Gandalf comes to love Middle-earth, sacrificing himself to save the Fellowship in Moria and coming back again, throwing off all fear and secrecy to challenge Sauron openly. Thus, he, Gandalf, succeeds in redeeming himself from fear and becoming the hero Middle-earth needed, as Aragorn says at his own coronation. Legolas and Gimli redeemed the elves and dwarves of their long-standing animosity towards the other. With the events following the Hobbit, well, these two races are put into a situation where there can be full reconciliation. However, their amazing friendship represents the best that these two groups can be when they act in accordance with Ilúvatar's will and act as members of the same family. And of course, their companionship is essential to the completion and success of Aragorn's quest. We then have Sam, Merry, and Pippin. These hobbits don't really need to be redeemed themselves, but rather they are the kind, honest, simple, noble souls without whom the quest of the ring would have failed, and all their adventures uniquely prepare them to save the Shire once Saruman turns his attention that way to punish Gandalf and the halflings. Of course, there should be really an entire video dedicated to them, and especially to Sam, but what we see right here is that they redeem the Shire from all of the awful taint that Saruman and his minions bring to that peaceful little land. Finally, there's Frodo. His journey is such an important one. In the vein of good overcoming evil, his personal journey is the proof that good can win out. Even though the ring claims him within Sammath Naur, he still recovers from its evil. He is the foil to Gollum, and also the reason why Gollum is allowed to survive yet again and eventually destroy Sauron. And I love the scene in The Return of the King when Gollum attacks Frodo and Sam on the slopes of Mount Doom, and Frodo throws him off. Sam watches them become transfigured, and Frodo becomes this being of pure white as the ring pronounces doom upon Gollum. Even after all the damage that is done to Frodo and his soul, he is still good at heart. And despite that, however, Frodo still pays a pretty high price for completing the quest. His wounds weigh him down until he departs to Valinor, given the same honors as Galadriel, Celeborn, Gandalf, and Elrond. Just this beautiful, sad ending reveals a deep truth Tolkien wanted to communicate. Good will win out. However, even the sturdiest, purest souls cannot go unscathed in this battle. But that doesn't mean that they aren't still good at heart. Tolkien acknowledges that the great journey to save the world leaves a mark on its heroes. And this is something I definitely want to dive into deeper in a later video, because this is just such a powerful theme and leads to probably one of the most personal moments that Tolkien wrote within the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So suffice it to say here, all 9 members of the Fellowship embark on their own journeys of redemption, cleansing the world of Sauron's evil. If they just took the Eagles, all of that growth and possibility to cleanse the world would have been lost. The Hobbits wouldn't be ready for Saruman's incursion upon the Shire. Isengard might have defeated Rohan. Massive armies from the east would have run rampant across Gondor, and Denethor might have even rejected Aragorn and his claim, causing a civil war to take out Gondor. Taking the easy way means then accepting the consequences for not grinding through the greater journey, and Tolkien absolutely understood that. And that is why, despite all the amazing memes and videos, Frodo could not take the Eagles to Mordor. Then what can we as novice writers learn from all of these eagle nonsense here? The obvious answer is that character decisions should make sense within the lore and world building you've set up. Sometimes the easiest route is the way to go, but other times, well, that can just lead to things getting really tricky for you later on down the line. In my first draft for Knights of Halicruise, I had contradicting chapters on the method of teleportation. One chapter outright forbade it, and another allowed it. Teleportation would also just be such a great and useful tool for people to use within the magic system that I've set up for that series. However, it also led to many problems and these problems are basically the same as what the Eagles presented, that it would be way too easy to accomplish things that needed to be hard for character progression. And so I had to go back draft after draft after draft and hammer this out until I got it to the point where it all worked out. And this highlights the second lesson that we can again gain from this discussion about the Eagles. Characters must make the choices that will mean the most development. Every story lives or dies by its cast of characters. Evolving dynamic players within the story keeps things fresh and interesting. Shortchanging them, however, through shortcuts and easy decisions deprives your characters and your audience of invaluable growth. So, always bear in mind what will mean the most for your characters and do just that. Tolkien went the route that he did with his story to ensure the best arcs for the entire Fellowship and deliver on all the themes he established within his trilogy. And that is something that all of us can do as well. So, with that being said, thank you for joining me on this newest romp through Middle-earth. And if you're a novice writer looking for more writing advice, please go check out our other videos and our podcast episodes on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, the works. We also have writing challenges for you over at our Pinterest page, and we would love for you to join our growing community of novice authors. Links for all those sites and more are in the description. Again, thank you for joining us on this adventure that we call writing, and until the next video, y'all.
Ever